right. Great to speak with the both of you once again after last year.
What's up, Julian? Good to see you, bro. How
Hi.
you feeling, man?
Well, I guess we can get right to it. For Patina, Rock is a very great character. Love that she's a boss every single time that she's on screen. So, how did you get to develop that presence and that aura about that character?
I mean, like honestly, it's on the page. The writing is just so good that you don't really have to do much. I mean, if you honor what's on the page, then you can do it. But obviously, I brought my own experience into it. I thought about a lot of the women in my life who I've been inspired by and who carry that kind of gravitas, that sort of weight to them. My mom had me at a young age. Um, my grandmother. I grew up my grandmother raised me. Both of my grandmothers raised me along with my mom because my mom was 15. So I've had a lot of influences in my life, women navigating this kind of thing, trying to raise a family single handedly. And so that kind of played into it. But I get Rock's ambition. I'm ambitious as well. And I get her being a parent. I'm a parent. And so that kind of just informed the choices that I made with the character.
For you, Curtis, I hope we're going to see Kanan get into a lot of things this season, whether it's for the good or for the bad or for the terrible. So, what can you say that what we'll see Kanan go through for this season?
This season you're gonna see Kanan. He goes through a lot. Yeah, it'll be the good, the bad, the terrible, everything that you mentioned. This season he's grappling a lot with, just the consequences of a lot of his actions from the first season. He's also grappling with consequences of actions that he'll find himself taking on and dealing with in the second season. This season is a little more about, I guess, identity for Kanan in terms of trying to figure out, just who he is, literally, because his whole world has been shaken up after having to do what he did in the first season, shooting Howard. So he comes back into the city. He's been away for a little while. They sent him up to Virginia, and he kind of got away from the noise. But as he comes back into the city, it becomes a little more claustrophobic and stressful on him because he's now sitting in essentially where he didn't realize so much of what he was doing or the consequences and actions that he had had before were sitting right there in front of him.
I'd like to follow up on that because there was many times where Rock kind of had to hide a few things from Kanan. Do you think we'll see a lot more of that explored? This question is for the both of you.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
oh yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think as Kanan asks more questions, Rock is going to give him more answers, and what Kanan does with those answers, he's going to ask even more questions, and from there, you'll see him try to piece everything together, uh, due to what the answers that Rock has given him, and how you'll see him balance if he wants to listen to what Rock has said and actually take that word for it, or if he's going to try to explore that even more on his own.
How about you, Patina?
No, yeah, I mean, I think like yeah, there are a lot of things like he's asking a lot of questions, and you get to watch Rock kind of maneuver in and out of those things, and you get to watch her sort of like her justification for a lot of things, and you really get to watch this character know that at the end of the day, her secret is going to be revealed, but how it's going to be revealed and what that means for her, how she will she accept it, will she not accept it, what is she going to do to try to make sure that her and her son will see eye to eye at the end of it. And so she keeps pivoting to things. She's going to pivot and try to like redirect Kanan in some other way. And so really you're just going to watch this mother try to get back in with her son because she knows that like, this secret really jeopardizes everything that they've ever known about one another. So
My final question for the both of you. While all that is going on, we have Unique that's in jail. He might be coming out maybe 10 months from now, maybe a week from now. There's the thought for both of your characters came in when it came to, oh, snap, Unique might be out soon. So, what was the thought process for that one?
I don't think Kanan necessarily, at this point in time, uh, fully sees Unique as the threat that he could potentially be. Again, I think when Kanan comes back into town, he has a lot of questions that he wants answers to. So that's kind of where you find his mindset. And I think there might be more of a, I mean, I can't speak for Patina and how she thinks with Rock, but I think there might be a slight twinge of that thought for her as she answers certain questions for Kanan as well. But yeah, I don't think for Kanan, Unique is much of a thought, or him coming out of jail is much of a thought.
Yeah, and I think for Rock, it's more of like, she knows that, Unique won't be in there long. And so it's sort of like, how do we deal with the streets? How do we deal with everything to make sure when he does come back that like he doesn't have anything, right? So you watch her sort of like plan everything because she's a planner. She thinks about everything and she's played it through that like maybe he might get out and what that scenario looks like. And so I don't think she looks at him as a threat because she's sort of killed all the threats at this point, or so she thinks. And she's moving into new, darker territories, and she's expanding. And, along the way, there are things that happen. And so, but Unique, his presence is definitely alive and all out up and through season 2. So.
Thank both of you for your time today. And I'll also like to add, I grew up in the city in the 90s, and what's displayed on this show is pretty much how I saw it also.
Oh,
That's what
cool.
we do it for right there, man. That's what we do it for, Julian. We try to
Nice.
get an authentic
Yeah.
version of
All right. How's it going, Joey? I know you have a busy day today, along with the fact that your album came out a few weeks ago. So I know you
Right.
celebrated quite well, did you?
Yes, sir. Well, trying, learning how to celebrate every day.
Now, for this season of Raising Kanan, how did you approach this character Unique? Because when I was watching, I was pretty amazed by all of your performances. So, what was the approach for this season?
For this season, coming from a place where your character is at its lowest, lost it all at the end of the last season. And this season is pretty much an uphill battle for this guy. You know what I mean? Him trying to figure out his way back on top, back into his position of power, and willing to do damn near anything to get it.
Now, when you came on to the show, did you know you had it in you to play this villain?
For sure. I manifested it. I literally got the audition like 2 months after writing down the fact that I wanted to play some type of street villain antagonist type of character, so it came like right at the perfect time. And once the opportunity was there, I was prepared, and I met it head on.
Now, also for this season, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of you, whether if it's right after the prison or during it. What can you say has been your favorite episode you've been part of for this season of Raising Kanan? Without giving too much away.
My favorite episode, probably episode 10. Probably the last episode of this season is super action packed, as you could imagine, and I got to do all my own stunts, so that's always fun.
Yeah, let's just hope that we don't see too many bodies drop after we see that one.
We're gonna see.
Now, my final question for you: what is your biggest takeaway being part of this season, and especially since not only you got the war with Rock, but also the other characters that's going to come up? So, what's your biggest takeaway about the plot for the season?
Biggest takeaway is that we are stronger together. I'll just leave you with that.
Stronger together. All right. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and also cool artwork back there.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. It's great to speak with you today, Malcolm. I know you have a long day ahead of you.
Yeah. Thank you, man, for acknowledging the fact that I am definitely here on a long day.
No problem. Well, in a few more weeks, we're going to finally see the second season of Power Book 3 Raising Kanan. How did it feel for you to not only be packed for the next season, but to also see your character develop?
How did it feel? It felt fun. It felt uh it felt exciting. He gets to be in a new space. We love to see our characters change and shift. We actors like that. And I'm excited mostly for the audience to enjoy it.
Yes, I'm excited as well to see it too. Who did you have to spend the most time with during the season when it came to filming? Not only with the producers and the makeup team, but also the talent.
Quincy, who plays Crown Camacho, and Omar Dorsey. And I had the greatest time with those dudes. They're so much fun. And Zisa.
Do you have any funny stories when you was on the set?
Uh I have a bunch of funny stories on the set, one of which I can't tell because it might be a spoiler alert, but one of them was, you know how, this may not be funny to nobody else, but y'all know Takis, you know, the Taki bag? There's
Yes.
a scene in which they dressed Crown in the same exact color block as the Takis. And so this is not that funny, but for me, I was sitting there looking at the bag and Crafty eating, and Quincy's known to be this really fashionable guy. And at one point I said, hey bro, hold this bag real quick for me. And he held it, and I snuck a picture of him and I sent it to him later. And he was sitting there like, oh dog, you can't post this. They gonna kill me on Black Twitter. I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely posting it. Whenever the episode happens, I'm posting that shit. It's
Oh my God. I'm gonna
that
be on
sexy shit out the window.
I'm going to be on the lookout when you post that on
For
Twitter.
sure.
Going back to the season, how did you approach your character? Because last season we've seen deal with a lot of things with his brother, along with
Mhm.
the music part. So, what is the approach for this season?
I'm actually being more of a Marvin this season. I'm the one not necessarily locking step with whatever Rock want to do. So that's been fun, telling her no a little bit, or griping about doing what she wants me to do. So Marvin's actually switching roles with me, and that's great. That's been fun.
Yeah, I guess Marvin is going to be the one to air quote call some of the shots there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's good for him. Good for him. I got this music thing. You feel me?
Now, going back to the season, when I watch the other Power shows,
Yeah.
whether if it's Ghost, the original, and Force, it's a very different tone than we got on Raising Kanan. Do you think it's because during the early 90s, early to mid 90s, it was a very dark period in that time in Queens?
Yeah, I think that when we say dark, uh, yes, there was a lot of violence. Yes, there was a lot of drug dealing. Yes, it was is an intense, rough time. But there's also a lot of vibrance that was happening. You know, Queens gave us LL Cool J, baby. You know what I'm saying? We got that, like, it gave us 50. You know what I mean? Without those times happening, we wouldn't have some of the best of times that we have now. Well, when I say best of times, I'll say vibrancy. We wouldn't have as much character and flavor if it wasn't for the trauma. So yeah.
And also, my final question, going back to season one, that whole scene when the house got burned down, I could tell that was a bit dangerous to film. So, you want to tell a quick story of how y'all did that when it came to preparing that scene and acting it out?
It was a long night. London actually carried me, and it's tough to act like you dead in below 30 weather, bro. Let me tell you, that shit cold as fuck. And then they make you then they lay you on that ground, and you're like, it's even colder. And I gotta act dead while this man cries over me. That shit was very difficult, but it was dope, and the crew was amazing.
Oh my God, I had no idea that it was done during the winter.
No,
My
yeah, yeah. It was cold as shit.
Thank you so much for your time today, Malcolm.
Thank you, brother.
How are you doing today, Tony Ortiz? It must be a crazy day for you.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. It's definitely fun.
Well, we're here to talk about the second season of Raising Kanan, and my first question is for you is, when did you learn how to rap? Because I saw you on the first season, and I was like, this guy is very talented.
No, I dearly appreciate that. Thank you very much. Well, actually, I write music. I actually make my own music, you know, and I've been doing music and rapping for the last about 5-6 years. But interestingly enough, I thought that it would be a simple crossover of just, you know, rapping over a 90s boom bap sort of beat. In actuality, I got extensive help from our producer Sean C, and he wrote the Streets Need a Body track, and as well as just made the beat and made everything seamless and perfect for me to just execute with my voice, so to speak. So I think I had a lot of help from production, but I also definitely had a little bit of my own swag to it.
Since you joined the show, has any of your friends or family were like, "Hey, spit some rhymes for me right now"? Has that happened to you yet?
That happens a lot. So I'm from Harlem and in New York City, and there's a lot of times that I'll just be walking down the street with a friend of mine, and I'll get recognized, and you'll think that the person that's recognized me will ask for me to spit something, you know, and in actuality, it'll be the person that I'm with, be like, "Yo, spit something for them, show them that you can really rap," and they'll be like, "I didn't want to, but okay," you know. So it's very fun to spit 16s randomly throughout New York City. I'm having fun doing it.
Now, what can you say about your character development for this season?
I think Famous had his head in the clouds very much last season, and I think this season is him having to deal with reality and do what's necessary to do what he wants to do, to fund the dream, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, fun and dream, especially when he's in the studio. So I'm going to see him and Aiden probably do a lot more dangerous things.
Exactly. So you can only imagine where all of the characters are going to go when they have to do what is necessary to be able to do what they want to do, you know?
Did you like working with Curtis this season compared to the last season? Like, did you learn more about the actor, and did you learn more about you when it came to not only developing these scenes but also off the camera?
You said work. I'm sorry, you cut out. You said work with who? Curtis? Mekai Curtis?
Yes.
Mekai and I actually, weirdly enough, we clicked on at the audition that I had for my character. If I'm not mistaken, he was already in his position, but they had to do a chemistry read between the two of us, and we clicked from that day on. So I think every day that we get to work together is just another day that we grow that much closer. That's really, I consider him a brother at this point, as well as everybody on set. I think we all mesh to a certain degree, and that's why it just translates to screen so well.
And my final question for you, when it comes to the violence for the season, how much are both your characters are going to see?
I mean, you know, when you have to put your nose to the grindstone, so to speak, and you have to do what makes you uncomfortable to fund the dream, you're gonna be in situations that are very precarious a lot of the time. And I think that's gonna happen throughout the show this season.
Thank you so much for your time today, Antonio. Hopefully, when we actually meet in person, I can see maybe 2 bars.
I got you. Just let me know. I got you.
Have a good day. All right. I'm happy to speak with the both of you, especially you, Omar, again after last year. So we're happy.
What's up, man?
Happy to see the second season. Doing quite good. How are the both of you doing today?
Good. How you doing?
I'm still wide awake after all these hours. No, I guess we could go right to it. So, Shailene, your character joined the police force on the first season, and now the second season, she's figuring out everything that's going on with that family. So, what can you say about your character development for this season?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I'm figuring things out. I'm asking a lot of questions about the Stark family and Howard's connections to them. Even though people are telling me not to, I keep stubbornly digging my heels in and asking them anyways, because I just want to find out the truth. So yeah, you see her get into a little bit of a sticky situation after asking all these questions.
Now for you, Omar, I think once Kanan finds out that Malcolm is his dad, it's gonna be quite crazy. So what was your reaction to not only reading the scripts for your characters for this season, but also to finally see, hey, he's the dad and shit is gonna go through the storm?
I mean, it was great. I think it was a great plot twist. But technically, it's still not definitive. It's just kind of being assumed. So that's the fun part, I think, for the audience and also for the characters, because he's kind of in this gray space, like, is he my biological son, or is Rock trying to play me with something else? And I think Kanan's kind of going through the same thing, because he's starting to put these pieces together that don't make sense from his mom's side of the, a point of view. And so, part of season 2 is like really unearthing that and trying to get a definitive, stance on what it is, what it really is.
I have something to follow up on because you mentioned about finding out the truth. So for both of your characters, what more truths can we expect to be unraveled for this hyped up crazy season?
I mean, I would say for Howard, it's he kind of had a trifecta at the end of the first season, right? Like he found out he had cancer. He you know, found out he might have a son that he never knew about, and that same kid shot him. So uh, so coming into season two, Howard is a guy who his whole identity is control, whether it's in the department, whether it's on the streets. His whole identity, pun intended, is having power. And in season two, he tries to exude that, but internally, he's going through turmoil. He's going through vulnerability. He's in an emotional space he's never been in before because he was faced with his mortality. And at the same time, the chess pieces never stop moving, right? So he's trying to grasp that sense of control again. And he's going to do it in his abrasive way. But inside, he's like I said, he's going through turmoil.
How about you, Shanley?
I mean, I don't know if I can talk about the truths that are uncovered because I don't want to give anything away. There's just like too much that I want to leave the audience.
Oh, give it all away. Give it all.
I know. Yeah, hear it all. You heard it here first. Yeah, no, I think, her whole season, her whole storyline this season is trying to figure out the truth, and she gets closer and closer and closer to it, and the closer she gets, the more pushback she gets. So the tension between her and the Stark family and Howard and other people in Shannon's life that you meet just grows and grows and grows over the season. And something's got to happen with that tension. I'm just not going to tell you what.
My final question for the both of you. Since this takes place in the 1990s, the police system in the 1990s was a bit all over the place. So what was the approach when it came to developing these real life conflicts into the stories for the season?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I've been talking about that. Like policing was very different back then. But here's the thing. Howard is from the neighborhood that he's policing, right? And so it directly correlates to 2022 when that's sort of the outcry from urban areas, like, these cops should be from our area. And that's the thing. That's why Howard has so much power, because he grew up with this kid's uncle. He knows this kid's mom, and he's like the community policing guy. And then you drop in this white girl and everybody's like, wait a minute, who's she? But she has a bubble of protection around her, kind of through Howard, because everybody knows not to mess with Howard. So even though she may make them uncomfortable, she's with him. So that means something. So everyone's eyebrows sort of raises, and she's tough. She's a good cop. That shows, through time, but she's on top of her game. So that's a very interesting question that you bring up, because it was different. There weren't cameras anywhere. There weren't body cams. If you got your head bashing, you got your head bashing back then. Believe me, I know. I grew up around that time.
Yeah, especially the fact that the whole Ronnie King thing happened shortly in that time span.
Right. And imagine how many Rodney Kings have happened that no one was filming.
Exactly. Shaylee, we want to add to that?
No, exactly what he just said. She's not from this area, and she comes in and tries to exert some sort of control, and it doesn't really work because she doesn't have the respect of the community that she's going into. And it's really interesting to hear Omar talk about how when you see people from your community policing the community, maybe you have more respect for them because you have more of a connection to them. So I think that's really interesting. Also, playing a female cop back in the 90s is something that I think is really interesting because there wasn't a lot of female detectives back then. So the adversity that she faces, I think, in the show is just something that I think I've been focusing a lot on and trying to find my way in that way.
Thank you both of you for your time today. I'm glad I got to pick both of your brains about that topic too, because I had that question looming since the first season.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.